Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for another segment of The Beauty in You. Tonight is going to be absolutely amazing. Our guest, I'm so excited to have her here to share her lovely journey of self-discovery, healing, and the positivity through it all. For those that are joining us, be sure to use our chat box. If you have any comments or questions, just drop it in there and we'll be sure to get to them throughout this episode. So our guest tonight is an energy medicine professional. She's a licensed psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and wellness coach. Through the years of experience as a personal trainer, dancer, and group fitness coach, she has learned the importance of moving your body. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Miss Isabel Churchill.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Mack, for having me as a guest today. I watched the episode with, I think it was Alyssa Johnson, which was episode season 3. So if no one has seen it yet, please go see it. I really enjoyed it. So I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you.
I'm so honored to have you. And I always say, thank you for trusting me with your journey because it's not easy. And the fact that you are part of my journey now and you're sharing your experience, it makes me super excited and it makes me honored. So I am very, very happy to have you here tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
So I really wanted to get started with just your road to self-discovery and what led you to where you are now. So if you could please walk me through your self-discovery journey.
Yeah, probably a lot of people who are listening will relate to it because for me, it was not necessarily just one moment, but a combination of moments that really changed everything for me. And it really started, I left university in around the 2008, and it really began there when I went into my first job. I was, at that time, I just got out of counseling. I was starting a job they call them MFRC, which is a military resource center in Canada, because I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
And it was during the deployment where Canada went to Afghanistan. And I went through, one day we had 6 soldiers who got killed from our station. And it was really difficult because we were supporting the families, and all of a sudden 6 of our local families with children lost their family member. And it was a terrible loss for the community. And at that time, I was a community employment counselor. But because of the situation, because of the background, the resources were expended, right, to support as much as we could our families. And I happened to know the families. And that said, when you are in that role, you're very strong. You're very strong because you know others need your support. Yep. And in October of that year, so that happened on April of 2007 was when we lost our soldiers. And then September, October, I started having signs of depression. So I got really depressed and I got diagnosed with seasonal depression. And to me, as a psychotherapist and as somebody who studied psychology and counseling, I was devastated by the news and I thought it was really hard. So at that time, I didn't realize that it was kind of like a red flag saying, Isabel, you're not in line with yourself. You're not in integrity with yourself. And we don't really notice that when it happens. So I went through that. That was probably my first sign of, okay, Isabel, this is your journey of self-discovery. It begins here, but I didn't really take the opportunity to really go into it. Mm-hmm. I continued working through my illness. I continued supporting others through my illness. So I try to really be there for others. And I don't know about you, Dr. Mack, but one of our biggest issues is boundaries, I think.
Yes.
Is self-discovery. Yep. So I didn't have a lot of boundaries and I didn't put myself as a priority in my life. So I didn't learn my lesson then, and I continue on. And I would say that at the end of February of 2008, I just couldn't do it anymore. So I left the job. I just couldn't do it. At that time, I had that dream of having my own business. And it was like just the dream. That's what I wanted to do deep down. And at that time, I was married with my first husband. And we weren't married at that time, but he became my husband a little bit later. And he did not support it at all. So I continued going into the public service and continued doing that work. And things kind of moved on, and I kind of had my business on the side. I don't know, like a lot of people I think go through that, starts their business on the side as they do the other job, right? It's just, if you want your dream to survive, you need to feed it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I went through. Back then, I was a psychotherapist. I was doing counseling. I also own a dance school, and movement for me was really important for healing. So I did a lot of that aspect of movement and healing through movement. And again, in hindsight, I see it was my healing journey. But when I was in it, I didn't see the movement as my healing journey. And so that's kind of how it moved. And I think being in a dance teacher and dancing, and I was also a fitness trainer then, and a group fitness teacher. And just the movement in itself was so important. That was such a beautiful way for me to rediscover who I am, what I love, and also fall in love with my body and realize how the body is absolutely an absolute miracle. And just to think of how the body heals, the body express, just the movement in itself is a miracle when you think about it. So that kind of like took me on. And then in 2014 is probably when the second or third signal from the universe, I'll say, knocked on my door. And that one was very devastating. It was, I was teaching a dance class, and I had this private class I was teaching, and 5 or 10, maybe 15 minutes before my class, I got this text message from my husband at that time, but it was meant for his mistress. And in the context of it, I had suspicion he was cheating on me, but we had a pretty good relationship and good communication. And I asked him 2 or 3 times if he was, and I felt like he was very honest with me. So it wasn't a surprise, but it was a surprise. And when I got that text, something came upon me, and I called him right away. I said, I got your text. I know it was not meant for me. I know I got it, but that's a blessing because now we can deal with it. I said, I'll be home in 2 hours and we can deal with it. I went ahead, taught my class. And I don't know if anyone who's listening went through trauma or a situation that is traumatic like that, but there's something in your body that kicks in. Right? Something kicks in your body. The nervous system is just like on the fight or flight. I was in the fight mode. I was in the fight mode, and I was going to survive, and I was going to be resilient on this one. And also, I think something happens in your brain that it triggers kind of like you don't allow the emotions to be in position. Taught my class, drove home, and we had a huge conversation. And for me, my sun sign is Leo, and I cannot forgive easily. And loyalty is everything to me. So I could not heal from that, or I could not step above it. And he didn't want to repair the relationship anyway. So in September of 2014 was really a huge hit for me. So I left my home. I left my husband. I didn't leave a job, but I was in a city that I had friends. I had my school of dance. Thank goodness I had my school of dance. I continued teaching dancing on my evenings after work in the weekend. And that really allowed me to grieve and to heal, because it's grieving when you lose a life that you thought was going to be your long-term life and that you were settled. And I thought, that's it. This is my life. That's how it's going to be. It's grieving something. And that's really when everything started falling in place for me. It was probably the worst day of my life, yet it was the beginning and the rebirth of my life, basically. Yeah.
I told you in our pre-interview, we have so much in common that connects, right? So I wrote a little bit down as you were talking. I'll first start with the different signals, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times, and I teach this now because I know now, and I knew before, I just ignored it, right? But your body has a way of telling you when to slow down, when to focus on you, and we always tend to push it to the side.
Yeah.
And especially for, we're both big advocates of mental health. And when it came time for our own mental health, it's like, nope, not me. That's not me. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not depressed. I can't be depressed because I help everybody else through their depression. So there's no way that that's me.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled with that too. Like understanding like, whoa, like you're really going through depression, and just really taking the time for myself because I put everyone else in front of me. I did not set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to set boundaries. And I thought my peace and happiness came from my spouse too. And so I put a lot of weight on that until my time happened in 2014. Like you talk about September, mine was October, right? So we talk about, 2014, 2015, similar situations happened. I stayed, in my relationship, but, we talk about that time of healing. That is the most traumatic thing I talk about to this day that I've gone through. That is like the biggest change in my life. And I will never forget, I get emotional that time, but through that came this.
Yes.
Through that came the Chiquita Mack. Through that came me being able to talk to so many different women and tell my story and help see them through. And so, yes, it is like the worst absolute time of my life. I'm sitting here like, what the heck is going on? This is not my life. I did not plan this. This was not supposed to happen. And that stuff happens to other people and not me. That is literally what I thought. And it's like, it's the worst time, but oh my goodness, am I glad that it happened? It didn't have to be that deep.
Right. Avoid it.
Part of that needed to happen because I was finally able to focus on me, what Chiquita needed at the time. What I needed to do was heal, focus on my needs, what I wanted, and stop living as a robot. And so it's like hard. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know.
It's so true. So true. And I don't know about you, but for me, that trauma opened the door to other trauma that I experienced earlier. I was sexually abused by my first boyfriend, and that's part of the reason why my ex-husband and I divorced. I was just broken. I was completely broken. And there's so many pieces that fell in place on that day. And often people say that, like, you have to hit rock bottom. I wouldn't say that was my rock bottom. I would say the rock bottom was probably the depression I had a few years back. But I didn't learn from it. And you're right. Like, there's all those signs, and we just don't necessarily pay attention to it. We try to ignore them, thinking we're strong, thinking that is strength. Thinking that is resilience, is ignoring the physical body, ignoring the mental body. But honestly, strength is facing all those demons that we have and all those trauma and saying, like, I can get through this. There is
okay to get through it and be human. It's okay to feel these things. It's okay.
Yeah.
And before, it's like I would think like, oh my God, I'm so weak for feeling like this. I'm so weak for wanting to cry. And then when people would like, I would express to some people like how I feel, they're like, but you're strong. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to be strong. I don't want anyone to tell me that. I just want you to listen to me, And so that was hard because everyone expects you to be this strong person. And it's like, I'm going through some real life stuff here. And I could probably write a 3-part book and a Lifetime movie from it. And so I need support. I don't need people to tell me I'm strong. I need you guys to support. So, I mean, I did have a great support system. They did help me through, and definitely, you know, I lean on them even now, but it was definitely a difficult time for me.
Yeah,
Difficult time.
for me too.
Oh my goodness. See, I told, like, your story is just like, I just remember first talking to you and I'm like, we have so many similarities.
I know. Plus, we live in the same city.
I know. We do. We need to meet up, by the way. I'm still have that on my
I think that's amazing.
It's like we need to cross the bridge and meet, maybe at the harbor or something.
Right? Halfway. Oh, that's so funny.
So let's talk a little bit about your Inner Guide Center, kind of what you have going on now and the people that you help. Walk me through your business and how that's going.
Yeah. So the Inner Guide Center is something I created recently. So I've been in business since 2008, but I create different businesses. This is my third business. I have a business that is French too, and I teach energy healing. And when I moved here to the DC area, I wanted to have a storefront. I wanted to open up now my doors. I was ready to open it up to local people and reconnect with people physically, because most of my French business is all distance learning and it's distance clients. And people have to understand, I'm a military family, so we move all the time. So that's why I set it up that way. But there was something pushing me to show up physically and connect with people. So I opened an Inner Guide Center last year. So hey, it's the 1 year celebration this month.
Congratulations!
Yeah. And I opened my door originally in Alexandria, and then I just felt it was not my spot. I needed something that was more open in terms of the space. And I found a space in Fairfax, Virginia. That's where my physical office is. And what I do is energy medicine. So energy medicine can mean a lot of things. I work with different modalities, and it all depends. I usually do like an initial consult with my clients where they can bring emotional, physical, and even spiritual issues that they're experiencing. And I try to mold the techniques that I will use to the needs of the person, but also to their belief. Some people will not necessarily connect with some of the techniques that I have. You've mentioned hypnotherapy. That's one of the things that I do. I trained in different approach in Ericksonian hypnotherapy, but I really went deep into regressive past life regression to help people. And again, this is something that not everyone's open to. It really depends. I have biomagnetism, which is a therapy that is used in it was actually developed by a physician to help a lot of physical ailments, physical disease. It actually works really well for people who have Lyme disease, for example. This is a technique that utilizes magnets in order to change the pH of the body. So that if there's a virus, a bacteria, the environment of the body is no longer comfortable for the virus of the bacteria, so it leaves the body. I do Reiki, which is more an energy healing therapy that I use. But I'm also, through my journey, I didn't talk more about my spiritual journey, but that was also a whole journey in itself that really allowed me to see that there's something else out there than just the physical and the mind body. And I think that's what really healed me for me, spirituality is a connection with self. That's how I define it. Spirituality is a connection with self. Either you do it through religion, you do it through meditation, through running, to watching TV, whatever it is, but it's a way to reconnect with yourself. And that allowed me to really be in tune with that aspect. As a psychotherapist, I was always really good at reading people and like micro reaction, like asking somebody something and they just move like this, to me was telling me, okay, there's an emotion hidden
there. Something hit.
There's something.
Yeah.
So, and then I realized it was more intuition because I knew exactly what question to ask. I was always really good. I actually became a coach because I was really good at asking questions and really nailing down exactly what the person needed to work on, and realized that I was actually more than intuitive. I could channel energy. So and that's part of my work, is connecting with people's body and talking to their body and saying, well, your body is not hydrated, or your body needs more sleep, or, oh, your nervous system is on the fight or flight mode and you need to calm down and find a stress relief, etc. So those are the things that I do in my office in the DMV area.
I need to come down to your office.
Yeah. I would be happy to welcome you to my office.
I was looking on your website and I saw you had an event in August, and I was like, "Oh, is she gonna have another one? Because I'm coming."
Yeah, right. I have one coming up. So those are channeling events, and it's coming up in December. Yes,
I'm coming. Please do not forget.
Okay,
send me a message.
Absolutely.
I'm coming. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna ask her about that because I want to go, and I'm gonna bring a couple friends.
That sounds great. Yeah, those are great. I love those channeling events. It's different from a psychic medium event. It's more guidance. And also when I channel information that is really relevant for everyone in the room. So even though maybe another person asks a question, a lot of time I've noticed that everyone is so connected that it speaks to everyone.
When I went to Spain this year, and I did some energy healing, and we all did, but it was like it was a group of us. It was 3 moms in a group, and all the moms were like, we're going first. And so we went. We had to select the stone, and it was interesting. At the very end, our healer came, and he was like, what's interesting is you guys all picked the same stone.
Oh, that's neat.
And I thought that was like the craziest thing. And I'm like, we did! Oh my God, we're all connected.
It's amazing how people are connected. There's really, being in this business, so my French business, I have over 5,000 clients. Like I see a lot of people all the time. And it's amazing how I can see that there's a connection. Like in certain time of the year, everybody's experienced the same thing. And it just shows, if you're listening to us right now and you're experiencing something, a lot of people are probably experiencing that also. And that's why when you start expressing it and communicating and recognizing it in yourself, the growth that happened from that, just being mindful and conscious of it, is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And I've noticed that as well, is like talking about it, because before, when I was going through my and every day is self-discovery, by the way, every day we're learning and healing and, pulling stuff out of our bag and like, okay, I wasn't triggered today. Yeah, but that was in the initial stage of, my process. That's one thing that like really helped me, I guess, was when I started to tell my story, people related to that. And at first, when I was going through it, I thought I was the only one. Like, really, you think you're the only one in the world? Yes, I did. I thought I was the only one in the world that had that situation happen to them and that they were dealing with it. And I thought nobody knows what I'm going through.
That's true.
And when I started expressing, like, signs of depression and feeling hopelessness and not finding my peace and understanding, like, what do I want? Not what, like, putting everything into my children and things like that. It's like, there's other, like, hey, I had a hard time with myself and me too. Wait, you did? Wait, why? What? Oh, okay. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. And that's it. And, for anyone who's listening, there is hope. Like, you can get out of this. You can, and it's not getting out of it. I feel like it's getting into it. Like, it's getting in, and the only way out is through. But once you went through, you come out so connected to yourself, so grateful of who you are and what you accomplish. And that's what allows you to go on and experience maybe some challenges again. But I don't know about you, but for me, I mean, that challenges hasn't ended from 2014 on, but I would say that now it's not really a challenge. I see it more as an opportunity.
And I'm better equipped to handle it now. I think I know myself better than ever,
Mm-hmm.
and I no longer ignore the signs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm bet when something happens, I'm like, okay, let me think about that. All right, I got this. I know how to handle it. Not gonna flip out. I got it. So
Yeah.
it's just about, like I always say, using that tool bag and like really going, like evaluating, like, okay, I went through this. And one thing you said too is like, when we go back to the signals, like the signals, I used to be like, why does the same thing keep happening to me over and over again? And I would get so frustrated. And then one day it was like light bulb. It's like, because you're not learning the lesson, girl. The lesson. Learn the lesson.
Yes.
Why is it happening? Because you still ain't learned. Oh,
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to, got it. Won't
Yeah.
happen again, you know? And it's like, the universe has a way of like, okay, I'm gonna replay it again and see if she gets it. No, okay, I'm gonna replay it one more time and see if she gets it.
Yes. And I think that's why I'm saying, like, there was not one event that reconnected my self journey, my self discovery journey. It was exactly that, like a cycle of events that all of a sudden, the lesson, bottom line lesson, was that I was losing myself in relationship with my external world. And that's the bottom line lesson of self-discovery. Am I still losing myself in relationship? Oh yeah, it happens.
It happens.
But I notice it more quickly.
Mm-hmm. And you know what to do. Like, wait a minute, hold on. And that's so fun. Like one of the things this weekend, actually, like this week, I felt like every day has been a work day. I normally do some type of self-care in there, and I didn't this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's been extremely stressful. And I was telling my daughter, I was like, I'm tired. And I have not spent any time for myself this week. I don't want to hear nothing from me. But it's like I was able to catch it before. I would be like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I've been running around all week, but that's what I'm supposed to do as a mom. Now I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not supposed to do that. I need a break. So this is what's going to happen. So I'm able to like identify it and like know what I need to do to take care of myself. And like I said before, I'd be like, no, this is my job. I'm not supposed to sleep as a mom, which is not true.
At all. No, if you want to be there for your family, you need to rest.
So I was like, yep, nope, tomorrow, don't ask me for nothing. I'm nobody's mom. Don't want to hear it.
I know. I hear you.
I don't want to hear it at all. I'm done with it. I just think it's really important. Like everything that you're doing, I want to commend you on. And I hope you take time to self-reflect. The fact, like you said, you have over how many clients?
Right? I know. I have over 4,000 or 5,000 clients.
Yeah. And I remember you saying when you first stated, and even though it was with your previous partner, you didn't have the support.
No.
And to not go from no support, finding support and being there is such a huge accomplishment.
It's huge. Like my husband, so I remarried a few years ago, and my husband is the most supportive. He's like my biggest fan, and I'm so grateful and lucky because in 2019, I was a project manager for a big hospital, and I had to leave because we were transferred into a new state. So I had to leave that job. And I told my husband then, I said, I think I'm going to go with my own business. I think it's time to like really do 100% just me. And he was so supportive. It was so refreshing because from past experience, right? We create stories in our head from past experience. And I thought, he will not want me to do that. He's not going to be supportive. It's going to be hard. But I took all my courage to tell him, and he was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And I thought, really? That's it? Yeah, but you're so right. Like the support I have, and even though I have a huge clientele like this, I'm not stressed. Like I feel like I can organize, and it's like you said, for me, it's really important to have self-care. Usually my Friday, I don't see any clients. Like I really, and I release myself from other people's expectation. And that's a big deal. I mean, stress is caused by expectations. If we don't meet the expectations of self or others, we're going to be stressed. Exactly. So I had to deal with that because when you work with public, they always tell you like your client is more important than you, and you need to do everything for the client. And if you don't do that, you're not going to have customers. You're not going to have, but instead of going that route, I have like a huge platform, social media platform. I connect with my students all the time. And I always tell them that don't expect me to respond to your email after a certain time or on the weekends. And that is a choice I made to stay sane, but also to be 110% when I'm meeting with you, 110% when I'm answering your email, or when I'm interacting with you on the phone. And people understand that. They appreciate that, and they go turn around and start applying it to their life also.
And that's so important. That's creating boundaries, right? Creating those necessary boundaries. And I started to learn that lesson when I worked at the vet center. And I would have clients that call when you work with veterans. I'm in the military as well. So, I want to always give back. But they're like, I need an appointment now. I need an appointment. And I'm always like, okay, I don't have it. And I would freak out like, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. And my supervisor would be like, it's okay. I get mental health. It's important and they need to see us. But when they call their dentist and the dentist says, I can't see you for 3 weeks, do they argue with their dentist? They do not. No. So you have to let them know, this is what I have available. This is when I can see you.
Yeah.
And that's that. And so she started to she taught me self-care. And she also taught me the importance of when you're setting these appointments, you have to schedule time in for yourself, but they will be okay. You're not neglecting them. You're saying, hey, this is what I have available. This is when I can see you. I cannot move you. No, I can't move you up here, because you're yelling at me on the phone. I can get you in when I can get you in. So I was like, okay, the importance of boundaries. That was in work life, but then I had to learn how to set boundaries in my personal life.
Yes.
That was difficult for me to do because I'm always I maybe make everyone happy, because it's my job. I'm supposed to do that. And I didn't understand what it meant to say no, no, I'm not doing that. And I don't really owe you an explanation as to why I'm not going to do that, because no is a full sentence. And so I had to learn the importance of setting boundaries and being clear on what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. And I'm not going to explain why. I found my voice during this process. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's really big because, and I think a lot of time we think boundaries is saying no to others, but actually deep down it's saying yes to self.
Yeah. Saying yes to what I need to be happy so I can be the best that I can be for everybody else. And here we are now. So
exactly.
It definitely works.
So true.
So I do know that you have a podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
It's called the Inner Guide Podcast. I think I have about 13 episodes out. I talk about my journey. It is the Inner Guide. So the name of my business is the Inner Guide Center. The Inner Guide for me is what I was saying, this connection with self, right? The best guide we have is inside of us. It's not external to us, it's inside of us. And this podcast is really about the journey on how do we connect to this inner guide, and how, and I walk people through it through my own journey, my own spiritual journey, but also my own mental and physical journey. I've had some physical issues I had to work through. I had, of course, my depression, some mental challenges that I had to work through. So the Inner Guide podcast is really about that, this journey, and how can we go through this journey together and reconnect to self, the best guide we have inside of us.
Yay. Where are you broadcast? Are you on all podcasts?
Pretty much all platforms.
Right.
People just, if they go on their favorite platform and they search Inner Guide Podcast, Isabel Churchill, they'll find me guaranteed. Yeah.
The healing of self-journey and sharing your story is so important. Yeah. It's so important. I would say if I can just connect with one person each day, I'm happy. If someone just says, oh my God, I totally get that. Or I read your email and I relate to that. Or I watched your interview with so-and-so. I totally get that. I'm like, I did my job.
Exactly. You're right. Yeah. And for me, that's like a lot of time when we launch things like that, the idea is to get more and more people.
Mhm.
But for me, the idea is even if I just have 10 people that listen to it, as long as those 10 people are impacted by it,
Mhm.
as long as my journey makes a difference in life, it's a big deal.
Mhm.
And I think that's how we can heal with each other is by sharing that experience and making it normal. It's absolutely normal to have those obstacles, to have those challenges, to have those illness. It's and then that's the thing. We always wonder what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Well,
wrong
that's
with
the
you.
first
That's
question.
part
Like,
of it.
what the heck is wrong with me? What did I do wrong? How
Yeah.
did this come? What? And it's like, no, it's okay. It's normal. Let's normalize taking care of your mental health. Let's normalize all of these things because everyone is going through something. And I always try to talk about like everyone has something that they're going through. Nobody is perfect. And if they tell you, no, I don't know, they're lying. I'm sorry. You're not telling the truth because everyone goes through something at some point in their lives. So
Absolutely.
let's normalize taking care of our mental health. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to not feel like doing it. Being an entrepreneur, like you said, this is like your third business, your fourth. We, as entrepreneurs, we get exhausted. We don't always feel like it. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's okay to have those days where it's
Absolutely.
like, I just don't want to do this. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like the marketing people's worst nightmare because I don't do marketing like most people do because that's it. I listen to myself. Like, what do I want to do? What do I want to put out there? And I
Mhm.
think if more people did that, like to do things because it comes from their heart space as opposed to do it from what I call an ego space, which is more the place where I want to do that because I want people to love me. I want to do that because I want to have the attention and the love that I deserve. And that's more ego driven. If we
Mhm.
do it from a space that I want to share my story because I feel guided to share it, because I want to share it,
Mhm.
because I feel that it needs to come out. And that is my healing journey also.
Yeah.
So there's aspects that we sometimes, and that's also what I meant by I lose myself. It's easy to lose yourself in your business marketing. It's
Oh,
easy to lose yourself in the work that you do. And you don't have to own a business to lose yourself in your work.
oh yeah. 9 to 5, everything. It's so easy to lose yourself, and
Mm.
also to lose yourself just within social media alone. If you start scrolling through, then you're like,
Yes.
oh, how did they do that? What they do? Why am I not there? Well, it's like, listen, guys, it's literally your journey.
Yes.
Your journey
Yes.
is your
You're
journey.
comparing with others.
You're
Yeah.
where you are right now. That's where you're meant to be, and you will
Mhm.
eventually get there. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
One step at a time, one day at a time. I normally take my Sundays mornings to work on the Chiquita Mack stuff, TCM emails, things like that, blogs, if I feel like it. I haven't wrote a blog. My last blog was, I think, June or July was the last. I just haven't felt like it.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
let's
it.
start a blog, you know. They're like, when's the next blog coming out?
When I feel like it.
I love writing, but I just haven't felt like writing that, those things. So I'm like, it'll get there, you guys. I'm sorry. But I say one thing that I love about my social media family, my IG family, is that they already know who I am. Like they understand because I'm like, y'all already know how I am, my life, and so they
Mhm.
expect like, that from me. I can't do
Yeah.
it. I can only be who I am. And so it's important to set those expectations and not lose yourself and be honest with your audience. If you're on social media and you're trying to get all these followings just for followings, it's about building a community. Like you said, if we have 10 people that rock with us, we're doing the right thing.
Yes.
It's not necessarily about all of the numbers. It's about the community that you build, the people that you impact, the life that you change, whether it's one person, 10 people, or 10 million people.
Mhm.
It's just about if you're authentic to who you are and yourself, the following, the clients, the money, all of that will come.
Yes. It's so true. It's just all falls in place. And
Mhm.
and it's about, and like I said, I had so many businesses. Some I no longer have. Now I'm running two businesses that one is super successful and the other one is being built. But I think it comes from a space that I wanted to do that. And I know from my first, second, third business that it takes time. It takes time to build. And the first year is always hard. So if you're trying to do a project or something that is really close to your heart, it's important to persevere and stay connected to what you want to create, basically.
And working through the fear aspect of it too.
Yes.
One of the things you had mentioned, it made me think of a friend of mine who's amazing. She got this entrepreneurship thing down to a T. And she actually inspires me a lot. I always tell her, like, you inspire me so much. And she says, you inspire me. And we just go back and forth. But recently just did something that was definitely for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so proud of her for it. And she always said, I feel like I'm meant to do more. And I always tell her, like, you know what you're supposed to do. There's something holding you back. 9 times out of 10, it's fear.
Mm-hmm.
You're afraid of the change. Starting something new after you've been working on something for 7 years, right?
Yeah.
And so you know what it is, but your mind is like, because we have to
start going there.
And I don't know what it's going to be like. But she finally made the first step of that. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. And I asked her if she can journal it, because I'm like, that could be a book. Like, you just never know if you just journal that process.
So true.
Of what's happening. So a lot of times fear plays a part of that. What would you say to someone who has really gone through a lot of depression and things like that, but they want to see the light or get out of it and maybe be an entrepreneur? What would you say to them to help them?
Yeah. Well, first, depression, when you think of being depressed, in the word, it says deep rest. So there's a reason why you're going through that. So the first thing I would say, accept where you are right now. Allow yourself to be okay. Your body is just asking for a rest because it cannot operate anymore. So there's a biological explanation why you don't want to do anything. There's a biological reason why you just want to lay down and sleep. It's because you haven't listened to yourself for probably months or years or more. So the body needs to recover. So there's this part of the mind that you have to not feel bad or feel guilty about being more slow about your daily life. And there's a point when you go through depression where people will say, well, just do things you love, but you don't know what you love. Like, you're in that space of like, I don't know what I love. I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do anything. So for me, if you're in that space, start to accept that you are in that space and it's going to take some time and it's okay. And allow, and of course you need help from a physician, from a psychologist. Maybe I did use some medication that helped me get up out of bed. But I didn't use those medications to force me to go to work. Like, I took the time off. I did continue working after six weeks of being off. And maybe I pushed through too fast because obviously I didn't deal with it because it came back, not the depression, but it came back in something else, in a new costume.
Halloween.
But so that, I would say, acceptance, first of all, is the first step. Acceptance. Knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. I think that is like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, you just need to adapt and start doing things for yourself. So take this opportunity to do things for yourself, to start. I think one of the things that for me got me out was the gratitude. I became, we were lucky where I was in Canada. There was a mindfulness program going through the healthcare system with physicians. So mindfulness, if you can look it up, find something about mindfulness, it really saved me, because that really allowed me to appreciate. And what I was grateful for sometimes was just the green leaves of the trees outside, or, well, it was in October that I started. So maybe it was just hearing the birds sing or seeing the sun in the morning, or like sometimes it has to go back to basic. Simple. Right. And then for your business, I mean, for any, and not just business, for any one of you are listening and you have this dream, something you want to put in place, you're afraid, The best tip that I ever got was from my Reiki teacher. And she always said, Isabel, when you have fear, just do things terrified. And I thought, oh, yeah, I guess I can do it terrified. That's true. I can be afraid, but also do things for it. Fear doesn't have to paralyze you in the process. Recognize that it's terrifying. Recognize that, oh my goodness, it's scary. But other part of you can be scared and do it anyway. And that's kind of what I did in 2019 when I launched myself 100% in my business. And I'll go in the worst case scenario. So for example, so when I did that, I thought, okay, I'm going to launch my business. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? Well, I'm going to go work at Dunkin' Donuts from New England, right? I'll go work at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know. I'll go find a job, something. I mean, I have a master in counseling. I should be capable of finding a job, or capable of doing it. And then give yourself an ultimatum. That's what I did. I told myself, okay, I'm going to do this. My ultimatum will be 1 year. I'm going to try it for 1 year. And then after a year, we'll see what happens. And I never went back, and I would never go back to project management. I would never go back to work for a corporate organization. I would never go back to work for government. If I have to, I would, but now I don't think I'll ever have to. I think I can do it. I've done it in the past. This is my 4th trying in terms of businesses, and that's going to work. This time it's going to work. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to try. Usually fear hides an emotion, right? Fear is just a symptom. So maybe you want to dig into what did you hide? Why was I afraid? I was afraid of failure. I'm a perfectionist. So I was afraid of failing. And that for me was the most embarrassing thing. Oh my goodness, I would fail. So having my business part-time was great because I could never fail. You know what I mean? So having time. So for me, I had to deal with that emotion. So whatever fear you have, the best tip I can give you is to dig down. What emotion is it hiding? Is it a fear of rejection? Is it a fear of failure? Is it that you are afraid of not being loved? Or maybe you're terrified of showing up for who you truly are. And that's another aspect of me. I've always worked in fields that were very logical and analytics and statistics. And I did all that in project management, worked for hospitals, worked in the healthcare system, worked in the wellness area. And then you come out and you're like, oh my goodness, my mission on earth is to do energy medicine. Seriously? Like people are not going to believe me. And I remember when I left my project management job, I knew that my boss, which was amazing, he was a great supervisor. He probably still to this day wonder why I left, because I was doing like so good. I finally reached my financial objective. But yeah, I left because that's not who I was anymore. I realized that I enjoyed it for a while, and now I changed. And I want to do something else. So sometimes the fear hides this removing the mask, right?
Fear. I always talk about how I have the conversation with fear every morning when I wake up. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm so scared, and then I'm going to do it anyway. Let's go. And, I'm always operating in fear. When I tell people that, they're like, you didn't look scared. I'm like, well, I was scared on the inside. But that's one thing I'm not going to do is allow that feeling to stop me, because my feeling inside that I need to be helping others and showing up for others is greater than that. So I'm just, we dig deep into like, well, what's the fear? Fear of failing maybe, or fear of maybe not being accepted, or people think what I'm saying is weird, but whatever, I'm going to get out here, I'm going to do it anyway. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we're going to just go back and we're going to revamp it. Right. So it's just get up every morning and you have that conversation with fear, and then you say, all right, cool. That was a cool conversation, but we're going to do this anyway.
Move on.
thank you for acknowledging how I feel, and I'm nervous and I'm scared, but we're going to do it anyway. And we're going to keep.
That's such a good point, to acknowledge how you feel. I'm not saying to push out fear. I'm not saying to eliminate fear. I'm saying to dig deeper and do it anyway.
Yeah, do it anyway. I got it. Thank you. Okay, here we got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. No, it's so true. And you know what? I don't know about you, Dr. Mack, but for me, when I look back, I always think, why didn't I not do that earlier?
Yeah, if I could go back. My
like,
goodness. Yeah.
Why was I afraid? Seriously?
Yeah, what was I afraid of? And I actually I've done that question I like to journal.
Yeah.
As a self-reflection question, like why? Why did I not? And I have my answer. So for me, it was I was literally moving the way I thought everyone expected me to move.
Yes.
So everything that I was doing, the way that I was operating with all of my choices in life was because that's what I thought everyone expected Chiquita to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did, even though that's not really necessarily what I wanted. And what I wanted, which was over here, I was afraid to touch because no one's going to approve of that because you're supposed to be doing this. So that's what it ultimately came down to, was like me not having a voice. Mm-hmm. And me doing what society or what my family members, how they saw me doing it that way. But I tell you, I sure love doing it this way better.
Right? Exactly. And when I was diagnosed with, it was a seasonal depression, they told me then that I would be on medication my whole life, that it would be with me my whole life. And I haven't seen that state of depression in years.
Wow.
So it just shows when you start doing the things you love and being yourself as opposed to being what you think others expect of you, your whole life change, everything from like health to wellness to just like enjoying life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And once you change your mindset too.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like everything changes. I have a good friend of mine, and I'll say, like, I can always tell her, like, I'm going to do this. And she's like, I believe it. I believe it, because she said, everything you said since you changed your mindset you were going to do, everything you have wanted has already fallen in place. And I'm like, you're right. It has. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep saying it, because I see it happening. I don't know when or how long it's going to take, but it's definitely going to happen. But once you change your mindset, you start accepting positivity. You start letting positive things happen to you, because sometimes you can block those too. Like, oh, why is this good happening to me? Oh, something bad must going to happen next. You start to block it.
Yeah.
But once you be accepting of that and you really start focusing on, like, no, this is going to happen. Positive vibes, positive affirmations, positive mindset, positive people around you. That matters. Your support group matters. You feel different and you move different.
That's it. You're so right. Like mindset, to me, there's two mindset. There's the mindset of the victim, and there's the mindset of the growth mindset, the mindset of abundance. So it's like the gap versus the abundance, and the mindset that is the abundance is more of a leadership, right? Am I going to be a victim in my life, or am I going to lead and direct my life? Mm-hmm. And really, when you do that shift, like things become so much easier, because you're no longer in this mindset of, I am being imposed everything on my life. Mm-hmm. I am suffering from my environment, suffering from my relationship, as opposed to, you know what? I don't need to suffer from this relationship anymore. I'm going to stop this relationship. And even if I have no friends, that's okay. The new friends will come. Yep. In the depression phase, I had to come out of that victim mindset, because in depression, we have the tendency to be in that mindset of, I can't help myself and nobody can help me. Yep. And yet it's all stems from you. What are you going to do? And maybe this morning it's to make your bed. Maybe tomorrow it's to make your bed and make yourself food. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but start empowering yourself to do something for yourself. Mhm.
Absolutely. You've been absolutely wonderful this evening. I'm so happy to have had you. Can you tell everyone where they can maybe find you on socials and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So innerguidecenter.com is my website. On Instagram, it's Inner Guide Center also. You'll find me there. On Facebook too, if you're on Facebook, Inner Guide Center. If you just want to connect, I have services that are distance and on site. So whatever works for them, they can contact me at the innerguidecenter.com. I also have a phone number, so 910-248-9195. If they want to reach out, I'll be happy to speak with people. Sometimes when people go on my website and they look at my services, they're like, ooh, I'm not sure which one is for me. I'm happy to have this initial free consult to help you guide where we should be going. And if you want to find me on my podcast, it's Inner Guide Podcasts also.
Yay! I'm so happy.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
so much for joining me. I will link all of your links, social media, website, and things to this replay so that everyone can reach out to you if they need to. You've been absolutely wonderful tonight. I am looking forward to December. Listen, do not forget me, please.
I will. I'll send it to you. I'll think about it. I'll send it to you, the info tomorrow.
Yes, I'm going to get a couple friends and we're on our way right now.
Great, Dr. Mack. It was an absolute pleasure for me also. Great conversation. I did not see the time go by. And thank you so much for what you do and also the impact that you have on so many people's life.
Thank you so much. And we will definitely be in touch.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. And that ends episode 2. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not already, you can head over to my website. We're actually doing a food drive right now. So if you would like to donate on there, you're more than welcome to. And if you have non-perishable items you would like to drop off, just shoot me a message and I will give you the details on that. Please be sure to join me November 6th for episode 3, where we will be interviewing Dana Marie. So you guys, it's been awesome. I am so happy that you guys are part of my journey, and I will see you all in a few weeks. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.